Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to explore for you the power of the mighty solar eclipse in the sign of Libra, which occurs across the 2nd or the 3rd of October. The sign of Libra can be very much about relationships, but it's an air sign, so communication, but it's also an authoritative sign, it's cardinal. So how we interact with one another over the next half year, the period of influence, really comes sharply into focus. But talking of sharpness, Mercury, the planet of communication, but also the planet of precision for its rulership of Virgo, is clustered right beside the Sun and the Moon. And that gives us an added opportunity to sharpen up the way we interact with one another over this next half year. I'm going to share with you on screen shortly all the exact timings of the event across the world. But also then I'll share the event chart. So when the eclipse precisely occurs, at that moment, what does the astrology tell us? Because that's going to give us a lot more detail than just thinking about this as a Libra solar eclipse. We need to understand what houses are being activated and what other planetary players are feeding into the equation, not least Venus, which is in a semi-sextile, but also the South Node, very close to the eclipse as well. What's the karmic significance of that? Please stay with me as I go through all of this. I'll share those event charts from a solar perspective that we can all collectively relate to, but also a natal perspective too. Then go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you order from me now, I'll give you the rest of year 2024 free. In my special package of 30% off, you can also get your life roadmap report. This helps you to understand the patterns that have been playing out in your life so far and get a much more intimate understanding of how to work with them. The combination of all this information will give you searing insights to guide your moves. Please see below for more. So the solar eclipse occurs across the 2nd or the 3rd of October, depending on where you're located. On the screen now is the exact timings and dates for all the major cities of the world. The event occurs at 10 degrees and 3 minutes. That means it's just into the 2nd decan of the sign of Libra, which is sub-ruled by the zodiac steady eddy of Saturn. Saturn likes stability, but of course it can in some ways be a little cautious, but that's no bad thing. But we also need to be conscious, of course, that with Mercury so closely in the mix, Mercury is about communication, but also about precision. And if you recall, as we came to the end of September, we had a Mercury cazimi. So this energy of Mercury has been electrified by the Sun ever since then, because that was a superior conjunction. So as we came into the new month, the potential to interact sharply and very effervescently with one another has certainly been to the fore. So a great opportunity to forge more productive partnerships, build consensus, work in a collaborative way, anything to do with cooperation. But one of the downsides of Libran energy is it can be a little too much of a people pleaser. And it's interesting that Venus, the ruler of the sign of Libra, is actually in a semi-sextile with the Sun and also the Moon and Mercury. So on the screen now I'm sharing the solar event chart. So there you can see Venus technically debilitated in Scorpio, but perhaps what that Scorpio Venus position does is just makes us mindful more of depth and sincerity. Because one of the weaknesses of Libran energy is it can be a little superficial, a little bit too much to do with presentation. But there's Venus, and Venus in a semi-sextile with Mercury and the Sun is very lovely indeed. So I feel that adds a little bit more texture and a little bit more depth to the equation. But the other thing to tell you about is the South Node is very much in the mix as well. Now the nodal axis is going to change next year on the 11th of January with the South Node reversing into Virgo and the North into Pisces. So we don't have that much time to go. The lessons of the South Node is, where do we retreat when things are going a little bit more challengingly? So in some ways with Libran energy, it can be that we're too polite, we're too deferring, we're too inclined to be people pleasers, because in some ways that takes the spotlight off of us. So it's important with Libran energy to understand the principle of the 7th house. The 7th house in traditional astrology is about open enemies, and sometimes we need to front up and create a boundary, a firm boundary, and particularly for Libran people, because ever since Pluto made its way through the sign of Capricorn from 2008, and then again from the 2nd of September this year through till the 19th of November, the turbulence around emotional affairs means that it's possible for them or any other cardinal sign, whether it be Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, to go into that South Node energy of being a little bit too accommodating for other people's needs. So one of the tricks with this solar eclipse over the next 6 months is to get that tip point right between being open to collaborate, finding points of agreement, celebrating the things we have in common, not being so focused on the small stuff and sweating it. Sometimes that means letting things go. It also means, because this eclipse merges in some ways with the last lunar eclipse in Pisces, the first of a new series, very emotional, being so close to the sensitive energies of Neptune. If we have got a past relationship that we're still affected by, or a loss, or it could be that there's some politics in an existing relationship that we haven't really dealt with, this solar eclipse over the next 6 months, working collaboratively with that lunar eclipse, gives us the chance to use the logic of Libra, also the precision of Mercury through its Virgo rulership, and also the stability of Saturn in the sub-rulership to find a better way. And that means making sure that we're alert to what we need to do as individuals, the North Node in Aries, but also we're open to find those points of working closely with others. And if we are in a relationship where we're giving too much, it's time to be more assertive. If we're someone who's a bit too caught up with our own needs, it's a time to become much more mindful of sharpening up our listening skills and being much more attuned to what we can gain from giving and taking, and finding that natural equilibrium which the sign of Libra is so famous for. So that gives you a flavour of what we can expect, and that's the event chart from a solar perspective. But what about from a natal perspective? So on the screen now is the natal chart. The ascendant, ironically, is in Taurus. I say ironically because that sign is also ruled by Venus. But you can see that Venus joins up with Mercury, the Sun, and the Moon and the South Node, all in the 6th house. Now, that's interesting. The 6th house, particularly around relationships, is where we're more aware of where someone we're working with is perhaps looking after something, particularly the efficiencies of a situation. So if you're in a living relationship and your partner tends to do a lot more of the domestic chores, this solar eclipse, based on the natal perspective and using the prime meridian and universal time, giving us that ascendant in Taurus, so I feel we can all collectively relate to this, it's saying we need to be much more thoughtful about good deeds. The sign of Libra can like to create a good atmosphere, a harmonizing approach, but if we can perhaps cover for a colleague at work, 6th house work, or we can take a little bit off our partner. If we're too much of a giver in the domestic sphere and other people are not pulling their weight, it's a time to put your foot down and make them aware of certain roles and responsibilities they can take on, because that will create much more mutual respect and it will create a better and happier atmosphere. But if you are someone who is very interested in meeting someone from a romantic viewpoint, it could be through your work because of the 6th house. But equally, it could be at the fitness suite, at the swimming pool. It could be anywhere very mundane, because the 6th house of Virgo is precisely that. The 6th house, of course, can be about health, and it can be about fitness and diet. The sign of Libra has an appreciation of calorific goodies because Venus loves that stuff. So if you are someone who tends to be raiding the fridge late at night or hitting the ice cream, as I do, then it is an opportunity to try to be a little bit more disciplined, to find a better balance around work, the 6th house, but also peaceful reflection and rest, the 12th house. Because everything in life and everything in astrology is all about polarities. And sometimes the 6th house can also be a bit of a nitpicker and get rather caught up in a small detail and then losing sight of the big picture. So that is a cautionary note. So if you are in a relationship where a partner tends to be quite forgetful on a pretty regular basis, which is something that niggles you, always remember what you're gaining from the situation, because that's going to be priceless. But over the next half year, based on this chart, it's an opportunity for us to harmonize practical relationships as much as those relationships, and they're not only romantic, with our neighbors, our colleagues, our family members, our friends, or in a romantic context. So small but important, thoughtful gestures will certainly help to create greater harmony and goodwill over the next half year. So this is an eclipse, to summarize, which is very much about relating but also setting boundaries. It is about being aware of who we need to compete with, but doing so in a gracious way. That's what Libra at its best is about. We also need to be aware that we can make superficially pleasant moves. That's the weakness of Libra. But on this particular event, because it being in the second decan, Saturn's asking us to be more sincere. Venus is also feeding in on a semi-sextile, adding greater gravitas too, particularly in the rather sensual sign of Scorpio. But goodwill does come from thoughtfulness, good manners, acknowledging. Acknowledging is such an underestimated thing. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. It doesn't really cost a lot, does it? But a lot of people are just so caught up in expressing a point of view these days that the art of listening has declined. So this is our collective opportunity for us all over the next 6 months to get a little bit sharper and more insightful in understanding where other people are coming from, because it may be different to us, and if it is, we need to recall that old-fashioned approach of agreeing to disagree, because that actually can be a very healthy thing. It diffuses tensions, it makes it non-personal. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, from Aries through to Pisces, to give you a flavour of what you can expect over this next half year. Welcome Aries to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. The gathering of energy in your seventh house is very much about your connections to others. So it does offer, particularly with Mercury in such a dazzling alliance with the eclipse itself, the chance to think about and communicate in an improved way over the next half year. What's not to like? Whatever your status, we all have different types of relationships. You could be happily enshrined in a close romantic tie, but want to improve your connections in terms of your social circle, shared interest, links with colleagues. Anything which creates greater harmony and cooperation is the theme for your sign in particular. But there is a little bit of a stumbling block, and it's the location of Saturn. At 14 degrees in the sign of Pisces, it's forging a quincunx with the position of the Sun, the Moon and Mercury. It's a tiny bit broad, but it's still very important, because Saturn since March 2023 has been making you much more aware of deep hurts, past disappointments, people who didn't come up to scratch. You may have even gone through quite a painful separation or ending, or perhaps you're just coming to the end of what it seems like a huge circle of time which began around about 28.5 years ago. And if that's the case, it could make you a little bit tentative about taking that step forwards. And that's totally understandable. So how do you negotiate this in a positive way, but keep that level of protection up? Well, it's important to understand the seventh house is about those boundaries. It's not just about diving in and giving the other person everything they need. You need to get the messages, Mercury, back from the other side, that you're heard, and also that how you feel is seen. And if you're not getting those messages, Mercury, then that's going to give you an early red flag of when to just let go, move on to the next opportunity. So I feel that all the life experiences that you've accumulated can actually develop in a very constructive way over this next 6 months, because of the experience you've got, but you mustn't let the bad experiences freeze the potential for you to forge better and more collaborative relationships. Just know that those experiences have taught you a lot of, given you a lot of insights and a lot of life skills and how to work with people and where to bring the shutter down if you don't feel that you're respected and appreciated in the way that you could be. But if you are open to improving all sorts of connections to others, this next 6 months gives you a glorious opportunity for sure. Welcome, Taurus, to your solar eclipse 6-month special forecast for the ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Your ruler is Venus, which of course rules the sign of Libra too, but that gives you a very earthy appreciation. So in relationships, enjoying the good things in life, whether it is nice food or nice wine or nice clothes or journeying, those parts of your nature, in a way, because for you the event is in your 6th house, can really feed into a more practical purpose. So if you do forge some very positive relationships around your work, around anything where you can collaborate with someone, perhaps on a shared interest, if you're a crafter or hobby maker, a wonderful opportunity to meet some new people, and that can become quite a joyful part of your situation. The same over if you're interested in getting fitter. There could be people you encounter that maybe not necessarily will become your bestest buddies, but certainly can be very pleasant people to know. So whether it's at the yoga group, whether it is at the swimming pool, those type of opportunities to forge new alliances are definitely there. But what about the game of romance? Well, the game of romance for you does have a little bit of a gotcha if perhaps you do expect someone to be exactly as you would like. We all have our expectations. It's very difficult to shift them. And sometimes in life, the gift that we can have is to be grateful for what we do get. And as the Rolling Stones say, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you can get what you need. And that's something that I feel that you should be mindful of over the next 6 months. But if you are in an existing relationship, I feel that if you can make your inner world that much more ordered and work together on it, then that's going to be a great way to improve a sense of happiness. But if one of you tends to be a little bit disinclined to get stuck in and do their bit, it could become a point of contention. Welcome Gemini to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Because your ruler Mercury is threaded into the mix of this event, your natural ability to communicate in a sparkling and effervescent way is going to be turned up to max. But the 5th house can also be where we're most playful, in your case perhaps even most mischievous. Your sense of humour, which may have been dulled by the Sun and Mercury's journey through the sign of Virgo, being opposed first of all by the stern Saturn and then by the drifting, dreamy and enervating energy of Neptune. Now you're really going to find that you're back on form. There's loads of chances for you over this next half year to really up your connections to others. Be playful, be demonstrative, even be affectionate. Is there a gotcha? Well, it's that Saturn, the planet of limitation, forges a quincunx with this event. That's an obtuse 150-degree angle. But if it is a professional situation where you want to shine, particularly if you are a creative, just be aware that if you work in a big organisation with quite inflexible set approaches to situations, it may crush your flair somewhat. So if you are a natural bohemian, it's probably better to pursue a freer work environment if you do want to showcase those creative talents. But you can do that in your social life for sure. And if you are someone who really thrives around expressing your artistry or flair, this event certainly sets that up for you. But what about romance? Well, the 5th house is also the sector of speculation, where we take risks. Sometimes we don't take risks around relationships because we want to protect ourselves and make sure that we don't expose ourselves in a situation where we can end up feeling vulnerable. But it's like a game of sport. If we play safe, we might sneak a result, but if we show a more enterprising approach, our odds of a breakthrough are much greater, but also the odds of the odd rejection along the way. But the key to all of this is the talent of your ruler Mercury, because your ability to get on with lots of different types of people, perhaps sometimes in a flirty way, but that flexing can protect you in itself. And also know that with Venus, the planet of relating, in the part of your scope that's to do with your work situation, it could be someone that you just get on well with through your professional role. You could go out for the evening together. It may not be romantic between you, but because you're out and mixing and mingling more, either of you could start to have more chances of connecting to someone special. What about if you're in an existing relationship? I feel that you need some playtime. So things have become rather too mundane. This is your chance to reset things and move into a much more outgoing and upbeat and even frivolous part of your life. Welcome Cancer to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. The gathering of energy in the sign of Libra is very reflective of the core archetype of your sign. It's about how you feel about things, your emotions, a sense of security and nurture. And of course, all of those things are really priceless in a very good relationship. But if you're in a romantic involvement which lacks that dimension, the chances are you're really going to crave for it more over the next 6 months. But equally, if you're single, because Venus, the planet of relating, is for you in your 5th house, which is very flirtatious potentially, the combination of these two energies suggests that if you can get out and socialise, but particularly in places that you feel very comfortable in, and you do encounter someone who does seem to be more evolved in the way that you need, in terms of sharing that emotional language, and has a similar appreciation of the core parts of your life, it could be a match that is literally made in heaven. So do be open-minded. But if you are in a relationship where you're not completely content with where you're living, your partner is, the fact that Saturn's in a quincunx to the eclipse suggests that there could be a little bit of a battle of wills, and maybe if a relationship really is bumping along the bottom, it may be a situation where you're thinking carefully about what to do. Mercury being in the 4th house also does have a little bit of a potential gotcha. It's because Mercury itself loves being in Libra. It's an air sign. Mercury rules the air sign of Gemini, and it's also exalted in the air sign of Aquarius and rules the 2nd decan of that sign. However, Mercury in the 4th house can see us see ideas or feelings go around our minds, but we find it more difficult to actually output them. So if you do find a sense of injustice or unhappiness building up, and it's more challenging for you to express how you feel to one particular person, the chances are they're not attuned to you in the way that you need. But relationships don't have to be only in the romantic dimension, and it could be that your family relationships are what you really focus on most over the next half year. Welcome Leo to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. This event gives you a wonderful opportunity to step up the interactions with others. Mercury, the planet of communication, is for you in house 3, therefore very redolent of its Gemini energies. So that's very flexing, it's delightful, it's quick-witted, but it also has a thirst for knowledge, but also those social interactions. You may find over the next 6 months that your attention span is a little on the lower side, but that's because you're craving stimulation. What's not to like? If you're looking to meet somebody new, You've got the identikit of the type of person that would really suit you. Someone that can be fun to be with, sparkling wit, perhaps a little unpredictable, and all of that can set your heart free. But what about in an existing relationship? If you feel unheard at times, then the part of the situation that you can work on with your partner is to try to get them to take your ideas a bit more seriously. And because Saturn links to this particular event in quite a tough way, Saturn's in your 8th house, particularly if it's around shared finance or a lack of intimacy, that may be where the more knowledge or information you gain to try to steer the relationship in the direction you want is the thing that you'll really need to do. But if you are single, I know we live in an age where interactive dating seems to be a big deal, but the 3rd house rules technology, and it could be that you are going to find a lot more interaction in that realm. But just remember, Venus, the planet of relating, does remain in your 4th house, and I think at the heart of you can be a little bit conservative with a small c, and you certainly need to feel emotionally comfortable with whomever you may link up, whether it's in a friendship group, around your interests, or around any kind of more personal relationships. So Virgo, your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, sun or the moon asks you to really focus quite a lot on values. If you do encounter someone over the next half year who you really like, don't be just caught up in the attraction, the spark, the chemistry. Do really consider, are your values quite matched? It's quite an old-fashioned approach to relationships, but it's one that I think actually holds just as true today. It doesn't have to be about money. The 2nd house can be about money, where the eclipse is for you, and perhaps that's where you're going to have the major part of your success. If you build alliances with people that are to do with a business idea that you have, with your ruler Mercury in the mix, you could be very astute, but also can negotiate very shrewdly. Also with Venus in house 3, your words can take on added value through this eclipse. But when it all comes down to it, if you do encounter someone new, in whatever guise, friendship, professionally, or in a personal situation, that old-fashioned principles, do I feel I can do business with this person in a very straightforward way? It feels right. That's going to be a great way to guide you. What about an existing relationship? Because this eclipse forges a challenging angle to Saturn in your sector of relating, if money tends to be a sticking point between you and an existing partner, the chances are that could continue to be a theme that you do need to tackle, because Saturn's really pushing you to get what you need around your relationships, but it also can present some coolness from anyone you're interacting with. So, for example, if you feel that your involvement, the other person tends to be a little on the mean side, a little bit too obsessed with the material sphere, that might not work for you. Then on the other hand, if you feel your partner's too dreamy and too easygoing and loose with resources, that may be the area that needs to be worked on for you. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Libra, your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, sun or the moon is really, really interesting, because in a way it's the opposite of what one would expect for a Libran. A Libran person very much invested in the potential to forge positive relationships, but this eclipse is asking you to focus on what makes you individual. But if you can still use your natural graciousness, charm and ability to rub along with all sorts of people, but just be a little stronger on sticking out for what you need to do as an individual, that's going to be vital. Not least that Saturn, the planet of limitation, is in a quincunx with the solar eclipse, suggesting that over the last couple of years there may have been times when you've really felt like you have bent over in half in order to meet your obligations to help other people. But if you don't feel very recognized or appreciated, that's what this eclipse is asking you to do. Also, because your ruler Venus is in your second house, the more you stick with developing your individual ideas and plans, the more it can work for you financially. But if you are single and you'd like to meet somebody, once Pluto moves back into Aquarius on the 19th of November, that will feel better for you, I sense. Ever since the 2nd of September, maybe there has been a kind of repeat energy of what you'd experienced through to the 21st of January for many years, all but those 11 weeks in 23. So the chance to work on your relationships is certainly there, but essentially this eclipse is asking you to showcase what makes you charismatic, determined, individual. So I want you to really set free that cardinal energy, which is very much of being an executive. In other words, you're taking the initiative, you're making the first moves. And if you need to be single-minded, even if some people around you don't like it, so be it, even if you're in an existing tie. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Scorpio, your solar eclipse 6-month forecast sees the gathering of energy in Libra in house 12. To be honest, that's a very reflective part of the sun's journey. So it's asking you in a way to be really in touch with your deepest feelings. In some ways that could make you very sentimental. You may even think very carefully about someone from your past. Because Venus is in your sign, it doesn't mean to say you can't have romantic involvements that will work for you. It just suggests that the 12th house is where we need to feel the trust factor, and that sense of devotion in a more sensitive way is really baked in. If it's not, if you don't really know where you stand with someone, however much you fancy them or however much fun they are to be with, but they're elusive, they don't answer your text messages or emails, you never really quite know where you stand, I really would steer clear. And of course the 12th house can be about endings, but it also can be about where we heal. So whatever part of your cycle in your life you're going through, this can be a quieter, more reflective time, but it's also a time when you could get to know someone, but in a more confidential way. You may not necessarily, it could be very private, but you may not necessarily want to share someone for now. There could even be a clandestine connection, particularly with Black Moon Lilith, very close to this event, locked away in your 12th house. If there's someone that you've just had that connection to for some while, but for various reasons have not followed it through, that is the type of tie that could start to build up for you. But in a tie which really hasn't been working, the 12th house can be where we come to an end, that's for sure. And Saturn does retain its location in your 5th house, which is romance. Saturn can be cold, it can be limiting, it's quite a tough opponent, but we can also use it as a friend. In other words, if we work really hard on our relationships, understand our deeper emotions and deeper motives, and even our fears, with this 12th house solar eclipse, all of it will equip you beautifully for future progress. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data. If you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Sagittarius, your solar eclipse 6-month forecast sees Mercury in the mix in the most social part of your scope. The 11th house is about friendships. It's about the network, but it's also about your long-term plan. If your relationship is working well, but there's also that sense of deep commitment, the fact that Venus is tucked up in your 12th house probably isn't going to be an issue if you really do feel that you both have the same commitment to the plan. If, however, you don't feel that you can see yourself being with someone for the long term, Venus being in your 12th house suggests that maybe the relationship could move more towards a friendship. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, being friends is just as important as being lovers. But if you do have both, then obviously that's ideal. It's also true that if you're single, the more you join up and join in with different events or situations, the more, perhaps through meetup groups, for example, the more that you're going to increase your chances of connecting with that special person. But Saturn's been asking you some tough questions over the last couple of years, and maybe it's been a bruising encounter at times, because it's been very much about your deeper sensitivities and emotions. And that does forge an obtuse angle with this event. So as much as you can, get out there and be more playful and have fun. Join in those group dynamics, perhaps in the hope of meeting that special person. It does all come back to the more emotional element, with Venus in Scorpio, a water sign, and Saturn in Pisces, a water sign. And that's where your sixth sense can guide you. As much as in the past you've been very hale and hearty and jovial, the lessons of Saturn and Neptune in recent years, and even Uranus in your sector of routines, which has been very disruptive, may have in some ways eroded that past natural enthusiasm. So you're a different person now, but you also know a lot more about what's really important for you. So if you're single, certainly the more you can interact with others, but look out for that person who's particularly sincere. If you're in a relationship which you don't see a future in, that could give you food for thought. But if you are someone who's in a relationship where you do feel that you're very, very connected and the more emotional dimension between you is good, if you can celebrate the things you have in common, that's a really great thing to do. But maybe give each other permission to pursue some of your individual hobbies and interests, because that's a great way to keep things sparking too. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Capricorn, your solar eclipse 6-month forecast is really interesting, because the cresting of energy in Libra for you is the part of your chart to do with your worldly interaction, but also it can be to do with power and control. In a relationship that's existing, particularly with Saturn, your ruler, linking in a challenging way to this event, how you think or how you express yourself, particularly if a partner feels that you're the one that kind of has to take the lead, that in some ways could be diminuting the potential to forge a better and more understanding relationship. So I think it is important, if you're in a long-term tie, to understand that once patterns get established, they can be quite hard to change. But if you do feel the need to be a little bit more dominating, then that may be something that's slowly but surely leeching away the goodwill. Now, the converse can be true. It's possible that this collection of energy in Libra can give you the push to be more self-confident, particularly with Mars, the planet in your 7th house of relating, giving you that extra spark of desire. It could be that you can take the lead, and that could see you link out to and connect with someone that you really like. And with Venus in a very friendly part of your chart, the next 6 months could be a chance that through your work, especially if you can meet up with some colleagues, and there may be a spark that comes from that. But in existing relationships, I think there could be a power dynamic that may need to be reset a little bit if a person that you're involved with seems resentful to the way that you see things. Now, you may see it that you have every right to assert your viewpoint, and if that's the case, maybe you should ask yourself the question, am I with the right person? Because the best of relationships can be a bit of a tussle between two strong people. It doesn't need to be one person who always seems to come out as top dog. So something's in the works at the moment, particularly with that long journey of Mars through your 7th house. Important to say what we want, important to be honest, and it's important to be respected. And the Libra solar eclipse gives you oodles of opportunity to promote all of those energies, and maybe that's going to be what gives you that opportunity to connect. But in an ongoing time that's struggling a little bit, I feel that the listening potential of Libra is really what you should tune into most over the next half year. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Welcome Aquarius to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. The sign of Libra is very much about relating, but we can relate in so many different ways. The 9th house, where it is for you, is about exploration, adventure, independence, curiosity, higher knowledge. Can be, for sure, the rule of law, contractual matters, fairness, equilibrium, as well as relating. If you're single, if you get chatting to someone who's really different from you, perhaps from a different cultural background, even perhaps living away from you, that could be something that really sparks and triggers your imagination and appetite for new stimuli. If, however, you're in a relationship at the moment which is a little bit workaday, has become rather predictable, it may be the time between you when you do need to be a bit more spontaneous. But there is a cautionary note, because Saturn, your traditional ruler, is angling in a cautious way to the event, suggesting that whatever you think about, whether it's a course of higher education, a new mode of transport, the 9th house could be a car, or it is investing in a holiday, Saturn's just saying make sure it's really affordable. And also Venus in the mix as well, and the planet of relating is in your 10th house. If there is someone you encounter through your work who is quite challenging and different, but you also find quite intriguing, that wouldn't be impossible either. But if you're in a relationship where you feel that your individuality is really suffocated and your love of curiosity and checking things out in some ways is hemmed in and held back, you might be looking at the dawn marked exit over this next half year. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. Welcome Pisces to your solar eclipse 6-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to take advantage of my year 2025 special offer forecast package, based totally on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of this year free, 30% off, but also your life roadmap report, which gives you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of all this information can give you great guidance for fantastic value. Please see the link below. The 8th house where this event occurs is where we're deeply devoted, committed, invested. Can be financially, can be in a more emotional, spiritual, or even intimate way. But the 8th house can also be where things make way when they don't work. So it can be the phoenix part of a journey. Now, because Mercury's in the mix, if you are someone who's interested in business, entrepreneurship, you want to go forwards in that way, do some detailed research and investigations of possibilities, you have it all together to do that. What's not to like? Well, it's just in a romantic context. The 8th house can be where we want to feel that our commitment and devotion is reciprocated. And if it isn't, because Venus, the planet of relating, is in house 9, which is about the truth of a relationship, and Saturn in your sign forges a link to the eclipse. If you feel that your individual needs are not quite being met, you might be quite singular-minded in perhaps bringing something to a close. But don't be too quick to do that. The 8th house has a high expectation. It's really wanting the lot. But sometimes if we meet someone, it takes time to get to that level. And if you did meet someone through the Sun and Mercury's journey through the 7th house of your relating sector, you may not be quite getting the tide to where you want it to be. So don't be too much in a hurry. If you're not quite sure of where someone is, relationships need to go at their own speed. And everyone's speed is probably different, everyone's individual speed. So to get two individuals to align in a mutually agreeable way is not always easy, and that's where tensions can come up. But if you are in a committed relationship which is going well from an emotional or sexual perspective, the sticking point could be about shared resources, which the 8th house is about, but it's also the area that could really grow for you. So if you're interested in making the most of your joint resources, some imaginative approaches over the next half year could work wonders. It's been a real pleasure sharing this solar eclipse special for you. But if you'd like to know what year 2025 holds for you and your zodiac sign, please click on the link beneath this video and you can watch my deep dive special, but also your zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs.